Well, good morning, St. Stephen's, on this damp and dreary Friday morning. Welcome to the 18th edition of my weekly Fireside Chats. Actually, this is the next to the last of my Fireside Chats, as Susan and I will be taking a mini vacation to the Poconos next weekend, and we leave on Thursday and return on Monday. So this will be the next to the last Fireside Chat. This Sunday, October 18th, Bishop Stokes has designated as Stewardship Sunday throughout the Diocese of New Jersey, and he's encouraged all of the priests to preach a stewardship sermon based on the gospel reading from Matthew chapter 22. And it is my intention to follow the bishop's suggestion, and the title of my homily will be The Coin. And it's based on Jesus' words in the gospel: render or give back to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's. Since I joined the Diocesan Stewardship Commission way back in 2009, we've been teaching and encouraging congregations to teach the foundational principles of what we describe as transformational stewardship. In other words, stewardship that changes people's hearts and their lives. And there are four foundational principles of transformational stewardship that I'd like to review with you today as my next to the last Fireside Chat. The first, and I think most important, foundational principle of transformational stewardship is that everything that we have, absolutely everything that we have, comes from God and it belongs to God. In other words, we're not owners of the things that we have. We're stewards. And a steward is someone who manages and cares for not their own property, not their own assets, but somebody else's. So that's foundational principle number one. Everything we have comes from God, belongs to God, it's not ours. We're stewards, not owners. Foundational principle number two. Stewardship is not primarily about fundraising. And I think this represents a dramatic change in the way the church has thought about stewardship over the years. Stewardship is not primarily about raising the financial resources that are needed to sustain the mission and ministry of the church, paying the bills, that kind of thing. Of course, that's a dimension of stewardship, but stewardship is not primarily about fundraising. Stewardship is primarily about Christian discipleship. It's about our growth as disciples and followers of Jesus of Nazareth. It's about our formation as disciples. So I think that's an important distinction to make. Stewardship is not primarily about fundraising. Foundational principle number three is what we call proportional giving. And what that means is that what's most important is not the size of our gift, but what that gift represents in terms of our total wealth, our total assets. And I think the best biblical story that teaches the principle of proportional giving is the story of the widow's mite. You remember how Jesus identified a poor widow who put 2 small copper coins worth about a penny into the offering plate. And Jesus said that she actually gave more than all of the rest who put in much larger, much more impressive gifts, because she gave out of her poverty everything she had, her whole life. So proportional giving asks us, when we calculate our gifts, our tithes and offerings to the church, to think not about the size of the gift, but what that gift represents in terms of our total wealth, our total assets. And the fourth and final foundational principle of transformational stewardship is what we call first fruits giving. And this means that the very first gift, the first check that we write each month, should be our offering to God through the church. But unfortunately, many practice what we call leftover giving. In other words, they pay all of the other bills, they meet all of their other financial obligations first, the mortgage payment, the car payment, etc. And then, if there's anything left over, that's what they give to God through their offerings to the church. But the foundational principle of first fruits giving says that the very first check that we write each month should be our gift to God through the church. So those are the 4 foundational principles. To review, everything we have comes from God and belongs to God. Stewardship is not primarily about fundraising, proportional giving, and first fruits giving. A couple of announcements before we close this morning. First of all, evening prayer will be held tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. On our YouTube channel, and we certainly hope that many of you will participate. As I mentioned, I will be the celebrant and preacher at both the 9 a.m. service in Beverly and the 10:30 a.m. service in Riverside. The 10:30 service will be live streamed on our YouTube channel, and this will be my final service as your supply priest. And then looking ahead to next week, morning prayer will be observed on Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. And there will be no evening prayer, as I mentioned, next Saturday evening, because Susan and I will be in the Poconos. So that's about all I have for today. Wishing you and your family a wonderful weekend. And we'll talk again for the final time for the final Fireside Chat, not next Friday, but 1 week from next Friday, or 2 weeks from today. Until then, be blessed and stay safe, and may the Lord be with you.